everybody. This is Alberto Kennedy, aka Grimoire. Today's video segment, I'm going to be talking about the anatomy of incantation and invocation. I have my notes right here. Now, this is for people who want to know about incantation and invocation. What are these things? There is a difference. And so I'm just going to break it down. For the learned, I'm sure this is probably just review for you, but maybe you'll find new tidbits that you didn't have before. So let's get into it because there's a lot of info. The anatomy of incantation and invocation. Incantation, a rudimentary definition, speaking your will and intent out loud. Remember, words carry power, intent, your intentions, what you're willing to happen, what you're focusing your will to manifest something, an outcome, a desired outcome for you. You're putting in your own energy on top of the energy that words carry. Words carry power. Like, for example, if somebody critiques you or criticizes you, critique and criticizing are different. If somebody says hurtful things to you, well, words can hurt. So therein lies the proof. Words have power. Words can make you emote. Words can cause an effect in others and people, places, and things because of what's behind those words and how those words are said. The same principle is applied in incantation. Your intent carries a psychological association because your intent is focused on an outcome or focused on some kind of directive, focused on something. You're focusing on something to happen, to make happen. There's a result you are focusing on. And that's what intent is directed towards. So there is a psychological association attached to intent. So there is also an emotional attachment to your intent. You obviously, if you're intending something, there's an emotion, there's an emotional correspondence to that intent. For example, when you get up in the morning and you go to work, your intention is to go to work. Could be you love your job. It could be you love that paycheck. It could be many other things, but there's an emotion attached to your intent, just as much as there's a psychological association attached to that intent. And from my other videos, if you remember, psychological associations plus emotional attachment to those psychological associations equals psychokinetic energy. So when you are incanting, when you're doing an incantation, you are using the power of words, your intent, which is basically psychokinetic energy, focused psychokinetic energy, towards a result. That's the inherent power in incantation, in any incanting process. You may have your own personal reasons for doing the incantation in the first place, That also has psychological associations and emotional attachments to it. So keep in mind when you're incanting, the real root of that power of the incanting is psychokinetic energy that you're summoning through words. In order to get the best manifestation possible with your incantations, it would behoove you to blend in sympathetic magic. Now, what's sympathetic magic for the neophyte or for people who who are not in the know? Sympathetic magic is a ceremonial act, a symbolic act that is within the context of the reason you're doing the incantation. So for example, if you're doing a cleansing and you're doing an incantation for cleansing, you will say the incantation, and as you're saying the incantation, you might use water, holy water or water, and you might cleanse the person or cleanse yourself with that water. That's a ceremonial bath. There's a ceremonial cleansing. And that's a symbolic act, which empowers the incantation process. Another way of making your incantations that much more powerful, using sacred words, power words, words of power. For example, in Latin, amor veritas, Latin for true love. Aegis omnipotens is Latin for all-powerful shield. Behen Sebauai is ancient Egyptian for I crush the evil one. Or Kaspungiru Kamu Gidim Hul, Sumerian or Akkadian for silver fire, burn the evil one. These are power words, power, and that you can use them for the different incantations you may have. Some are for protection, some are for battle, some is to promote love, true love. So words of power in ancient languages. You can also use English for incantations. Some people rhyme when they do incantations. It's whatever feels good for you when you're formulating your own incantations. Another way to ensure manifestation is to say the incantation via meditation. When you're meditating, if you can astral project, if you're on the astral plane, if you're on the mental plane, thoughts, meditation, or whatnot, say the incantation, and visualize yourself doing the ceremony with the incantation. You can say this incantation more than once. What sacred number works for you? For me, I like 7. I like 10. Manifestation through Kabbalah, it's the 10th Sephira, the 10th level. They have 10 trees of life. So I like 10. I like 7 too, because 7 for me is victory. But you might have your own number. So you can say an incantation and use your own number. And it's okay to repeat it, because that way you're building force. You're building force. Okay, now what's the difference between an incantation and a spell? Well, a spell carries the same hallmarks of energy, for the exception that a spell does not involve the added energy of a symbolic act. Now, when you cast a spell, you can say, there's so many spells, but you can say a spell, a poem in poem form, a quick one, I heal this person of all their ills. So mote it be, so do I will. That's a rhyming spell, but notice I didn't use a symbolic act, So a spell can be just as powerful as an incantation, in that if you have control over your psychokinetic energy, sometimes a spell can be just as powerful as an incantation, or more so, without the ritual and without the symbolic act. So that's something to keep in mind. Invocation. Incantation is when you are using your own energy to make something happen. You're using words, your psychokinetic energy, your intent, your will, your focus, and the words that you formulate to generate energy to make something happen, in conjunction with using sympathetic magic, a symbolic act, lighting a candle, and using the other extras like power words, ancient languages, to generate that much more power for the manifestation of your desired result. Now, an invocation is different in that it's similar to praying, but let's get deeper. Invocation is invoking a higher power, calling a higher power to become part of what you're doing. You're asking a higher power or other entity, a powerful entity, to imbue your work, because invoking is work, so is incantation, working magic. So if you are invoking, you are calling an entity to empower your ritual and to empower your invocation and to empower you. You know, you are working with an entity and requesting that entity to help you accomplish an end. This is tricky because there's many people that invoke entities for a particular end that they want to accomplish that they don't even know the entity. You know, you need to know who you're working with. That's imperative. For example, a lot of people in Mexico City and Mexico, and my blessings to them and my prayers for them because I know they had a 7.1 earthquake and my heart goes out to them. I have family there. And so I've been praying and been helping. I've been invoking. Well, in Mexico, in some parts in Mexico, they work with an entity known as Santisima Muerte. Now, she's also been commonly referred to as Santa Muerte. Her real name is Santisima Muerte. But I'm just using this as an example. Many people invoke her. And the common occult knowledge that is that she's the saint of death. And when you petition her in the most dire of circumstances, she hears your call and she grants miracles. And she particularly cares for the hopeless and the lost and lost causes. Okay. Now this is when you do research. I'm going to share I'm going to share with you all my research. Yes, she accepts the prayers of all and pays closer attention to those who have lost faith in the church and Orthodox religion. She favors those who have been alienated, persecuted, victimized, or wronged by the church. Those the church or society deem undesirable are her children. She does love her children and can be catastrophic to those who work against her children or harm her children. Okay. She is actually not a saint. She has not been canonized. Death has not been canonized. She's not a saint. She is in actuality an ancient death elemental with roots in Palo Mayombe, an African, Mesoamerican Indian, South American Indian, Caribbean magical traditions. She's an amalgamated entity with many ties to Latin American Indians, Mexican and Mesoamerican Indians, and Africans. Her roots go back. She predates Christianity. She predates many of the Orthodox religions. She is vampiric in nature and has been sustained for centuries through blood magics and sacrificial magics. She will also feed on life force. She is an extremely jealous, territorial, and demanding elemental who was and still is, in some parts of the world, considered an ancient goddess, not a saint. She is not death itself, but controls all that which causes or that brings about death or change. Change falls under the territory of death, because death of circumstances, death of an era, death of a cycle. She can also keep those things at bay. She can keep death at bay when she wants. She is a sin eater. Those who have accumulated massive amounts of karma tend to focus and tend to worship her because she takes that upon herself, cleansing the person for a very, 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 very steep price. Everything has a price, but I'll get to that later. To work with this elemental is it is best to work in conjunction with other forces to keep her power and presence in check, such as El Cristo Negro and El Cristo Rey. Now, El Cristo Negro is part of Palomayombe. He's a very powerful, and well, he is the king in Palomayombe. He's a spirit that keeps in control all dark spirits. All dark spirits must bow to him in that religion. Now, El Cristo Negro is a symbolic spirit because he is an allegory entity in a sense that when Jesus died, before he ascended, he descended into hell and freed the souls of the righteous. That is El Cristo Negro. He controls and dominates dark spirits. Cristo Rey is Jesus ascended. He is the ascended aspect of Jesus. So this means that it is a spirit that is white light, here to help, heal, redeem, absolve, protect, and he controls the dark with light. El Cristo Negro controls the dark because he is in the dark, and he is the most powerful. And there are similarities with El Cristo Negro with Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of the dead. So those two, El Cristo Negro, El Cristo Rey, have the power to control La Santisima Muerte. And if you ever do work with La Santisima Muerte, it's wise to work with the Trinity, Santisima Muerte, El Cristo Negro, and El Cristo Rey, just in case. Because elementals are like nature. They're not evil and they're not good. Nature isn't evil or good. Nature's just nature. If you get got, you got got. So these are the things that you have to do when you work with an entity. When you invoke, research who you're invoking. For God and Goddess's sake, research. Because there are some people who work with all manner of entities, but they have not even the slightest inkling what that entity is about. And then when they get got, they're in a dark place, and they're going to need major assistance, major exorcisms. And it's dangerous because if you call upon an entity, or if an entity reveals themselves to you and they want to work with you, and you think it's all hunky-dory, you need to do your research. Because if that entity has revealed itself to you, you need to know who this entity is, because that's power in of itself for an entity to reveal themselves to you. They rarely do that unless they want something. And you need to be aware of that. Possession can happen if you invoke the wrong entity. An entity can lie to you and then become one with you. And when you got that integration going on, you and the entity become one new being. No, that's just no. And people forget that when you bond with an entity, that's not just for life. You bond with that entity in the afterlife. You and that entity are one. An entity can possess a spirit. Just throwing that out there. So be mindful on how you invoke and who you invoke. Let's see. Before you invoke, and you did your research, give that entity an offering. When you work with an entity, it's not, don't be one of those one-night stand witches, which is, oh, I want this to happen, so I'm going to invoke this person. I'm going to invoke Shango. Let's say Shango. I'll invoke Shango because I want to make this guy love me. Seriously? You don't even know Shango. Shango doesn't even know you. Respect. That's how people get hurt, when you deal with entities you have no inkling of. If you want to start working with entities, get to know them, research, and offer them something. The law of equal exchange demands that you have to give something before you receive something. So be kind, be a courteous guest. If you're going to invite somebody into your world, give them a candle, give them one of their fruit, the sacred fruits that they like, um, a gift of some sort that's theirs. You know, that will always be theirs and sacred to them. And when you do work with somebody or work with an entity, when you invoke, keep that relationship going, because now it's a friendship relationship, a professional relationship, whatever. You have a connection. And you want to keep that connection ongoing. So therefore, they're more apt to work with you in the future. They talk. So there are other entities that will be around that say, okay, well, wait a minute, this person respects the law of equal exchange. If they invoke me, you know, I'll be more apt to assist them because they get something in return, and I get recognized. I get liked, and I can help them. So it's a mutual benefit, not just for you, me. You know. And when you do work with an entity, that entity is now attached to you and will be. Keep that in mind. It's serious business invoking. It's not just saying a couple of words, you know, and boom, it's done. No, nor is incantation. Invoking is hard work. Um, After you invoke, let me do an invocation so you guys understand. Okay. To the east, I invoke Archangel Raphael Ruachel. To the south, I invoke Uriel Aretziel, Archangel Uriel Aretziel. To the west, I invoke Archangel Gabriel Levanael. To the north, I invoke Archangel Michael Shemeshel. Above me, I invoke the Archangel Metatron Catheriel. Beneath me, I invoke the Archangel Sandalphon Malkuthiel. Help me to bring light beyond light, love beyond love, healing beyond healing, wisdom beyond wisdom, knowledge beyond knowledge, to those that seek it. Make me one with the divine light that I can help others become one with their own divine light. Thank you for hearing me. In humble reverence and thankfulness, I bid thee depart in peace. I close all doors that I have opened as I manifest all that I have spoken. That would be an incantation. Sorry, that would be an invocation. Kind of still coming back. That would be an invocation. I like working with the archangels. And I wanted to share that with you guys so you understand what an invocation is. I was calling, invoking, manifesting, conjuring, whatever you want to call it, for their power or themselves to come forth. And in that particular invocation, to share energy with you guys who are seeing this. But, you know, that's invocation. And I was invoking on entities of light, whom I have researched. And notice, which is very important, at the end of the invocation, I closed all doorways. Close every doorway that you open when you invoke. Matter of fact, even when you incant. Close all doorways. And I like to end by thanking them, because they don't have to listen, you know, but if they do, how awesome is that, you know? And it's just out of respect. And when you do that, I close by saying, I close all doors that I have opened, and I manifest all that I have spoken. And then I tell them, in humble reverence, I bid thee depart in peace. In humble reverence and thanks, I bid thee depart in peace. That way, you're letting them know, okay, the ceremony's over. Thank you for helping me in this task. The divide is happening again. I need you to go back, but with respect, because I know you didn't have to come here, you know. And that's just showing respect and closing the ceremony, closing all doors. Lighting them a candle helps. I always light the Ark's candles and whatnot every night. And you might want to get into the habit of that too if you're going to be doing incantations and invocations. I hope this information finds you well. I want to bring light to dark places. I hope this video does help to do that. I'm still coming back from my little invocation, but I'm glad I got to share that with you guys. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer anything that you have, any questions that you have. Let's all bring light to dark places. Right now, this world needs it, and I think we can do it together. All right. See you guys.